You know, technology is just everywhere. It's completely shaping our kids' lives. But what if we could flip the script? What if those very same tools could actually become our most powerful shields? Today, we're going to dig into how information and communication technology, ICT for short, can be engineered to protect children from exploitation. Albert Einstein said this a long time ago, but wow, does it hit home today? It just perfectly captures the core challenge of our hyper-connected world, right? It's a world with incredible possibilities, for sure, but it's also one where innovation moves so fast, it often leaves our ability to protect the most vulnerable people in the dust. This really sets the stage for the problem we're unpacking. Get a load of this number, 99%. In the UK, that's how many kids between 12 and 15 are on the internet. This isn't just some hobby. It's the actual environment where they live, where they learn, and where they hang out. We're talking total immersion here.
And of course, with that immersion comes risk. A survey in the US found that in just 1 year, 42% of young people were exposed to pornography online. And here's the really crucial part. 2/3 of that exposure was completely unwanted. So this isn't some far-off threat. It's a daily reality for millions of kids.
So, this brings us to this core idea of technology being a double-edged sword. On one side, you've got all this amazing connection and knowledge, but on the other side, it opens up brand new ways for people to get hurt. Everything from cyberbullying to highly organized criminal activity.
I love this analogy from a UK government report. It just puts it perfectly. Think about it. You would never let a child wander around a busy city without teaching them to look both ways, right? Well, the digital world is no different. It's a space that demands a whole new set of safety skills, which makes education our absolute first line of defense.
But here's the thing. Education by itself just isn't enough. The problem is so much bigger than just individual choices. What we're really up against is a massive global protection gap. It's this complex mess of legal loopholes and technical voids that criminals have become experts at exploiting. And a huge part of that protection gap is something called the deep web. Now, it was originally created for anonymous communication, but it's morphed into a kind of digital shadow world. It's a place where identities are hidden and illegal activities, including the absolute worst kinds of child exploitation, are organized using currencies that are almost impossible to trace.
So the core challenges we're facing are just immense. You've got a general lack of awareness about the risks, a completely fractured global legal system. There's no single rulebook, which leads to huge breakdowns in international cooperation. And on top of all that, the technology itself is just constantly changing.
And this isn't just some boring bureaucratic problem, it's a critical vulnerability. This serious gap in international law is basically a green light for traffickers. It means they can move children from one country to another, knowing full well that the legal and police systems can't easily follow them.
Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it is complex, and it's pretty daunting. But this is where the story pivots. What if we could take the criminal's greatest asset, technology, and turn it right back against them? What if we could use it to build a whole new kind of defense? This is the big question, isn't it? Can we harness the very things that make the internet so incredibly powerful? Its mind-boggling speed, its ability to chew through vast amounts of data, and its instant connectivity to create a system that actually protects kids instead of harming them? And it turns out, the answer is yes, we can. Let's look at a really concrete example from a Plan International study. They explored a missing child alert system specifically designed to fight child trafficking in Southeast Asia. Now, to build a solution, you first have to understand the roots of the problem. Trafficking isn't just random, it's driven by these really powerful forces. You have push factors like poverty and violence that make children vulnerable in the first place. And then you have pull factors like the demand for cheap labor or for sexual exploitation that create the market for this horrific trade. Any tech solution has to be built to work in this incredibly complex reality. So, how would a system like this actually work on the ground? Let's break it down. Let's look at the anatomy of one of these tech-powered alerts. Okay, before you can even write a single line of code, you hit this massive wall. Different countries can't even agree on what the word trafficking means, or even legally what defines a child. And if one country's police can't communicate a crime to another because they're literally using different rulebooks, any kind of action is paralyzed from the get-go. So this is the blueprint for how to get around that. The proposed system creates a single centralized hub, basically a regional system that everybody plugs into. It's designed to create a common language and a single point of contact for a coordinated cross-border response. Let's walk through it.
First, a report of a missing child comes in, and it's logged on a secure server. Second, the police verify that information and then officially activate an alert. Third, the system already knows exactly who needs to get that alert. We're talking border guards, NGOs, police forces in neighboring countries. Fourth, that alert goes out instantly. And fifth, and this is really smart, it links up with any local tracking systems that might already be in place.
Okay, so let's make this real. Imagine a family reports their child is missing, and they fear the absolute worst. The clock is ticking. In those critical first moments, what happens when you have a system like this in place?
This flowchart maps it all out. The report comes in and gets investigated. Now, here's a key first step. The system immediately checks the database. Is this child already registered as found but unidentified somewhere else? If not, and trafficking is suspected, the system activates a whole sequence of alerts, escalating them to a wider and wider network as time goes on. It's a logical, super fast response system.
But of course, no system is perfect. The advantages are pretty clear. It's faster, it's way better coordinated, and crucially, over time, it would give us incredibly accurate data on trafficking routes. But the risks? They are just as real. It needs a ton of money and resources. And if governments don't buy in and actually cooperate, its effectiveness is seriously limited.
And that brings us to what might be the most important point of all. This is not just a technology problem. The most brilliant code in the world is totally useless without the human element. The core takeaway is really this. Technology is just a tool. A powerful one, yes, but still just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. For any of it to actually work, the real-world structures, the laws, and the government agencies have to be ready and willing to use it. So what that means is that success goes way beyond the code. It needs solid laws that countries actually agree on. It needs agencies and NGOs that are organized and ready to act. It needs political leaders who have the will to cooperate. And it needs all the administrative teamwork to make the whole thing run smoothly. So in the end, it really comes down to this. We can design the systems. We can build the alerts. We can create the databases. The technology is not the hardest part here. The real question is a human one. In a world that's so often fractured, can we find the collective will to actually work together and protect our children?